We've been wanting to honor Eric for a long time. I mean, he's very deserving of this award. And every year, I'd bring it up to him. Eric, we need to honor you. And he'd say, oh, no, maybe not this year. I really think that if we honor somebody else, it could be better, bring in the dollars, you know. He's just honestly putting the organization first before he puts himself. And that's just totally reflects why he's so deserving. So Young Audiences has this really long, rich history of bringing artists into schools through assembly programs. And before Eric, we were probably doing about 1,000 of those programs each year. But after Eric came on board, he started to look at multiple ways that we could be partnering with schools. And in his 22 years of service, we've gone from just providing assembly programs to bringing the artists into the classroom to provide workshops, for keeping them there for longer periods of time through artist in residence programs. And then in the last 5 years, we've expanded to professional development, not just for artists beyond the Young Audiences roster, but for teachers in arts integration. And so you're going from roughly 1,000 programs that Young Audiences was providing before Eric came on board to over 5,000 different experiences that we provided last year. And that really is due to Eric's leadership.
I met Eric over 20 years ago. The person who recruited me to serve on the board of Young Audiences asked me whether I knew this accountant who also worked with artists, and of course I worked with artists. I'm an entertainment lawyer. I was with Maryland Lawyers for the Arts, and she thought I should get to know Eric Kripstein, and indeed I did get to know him, and we ended up serving together on the board of Young Audiences. What I like about Eric is that, of course, there are many accountants that like the arts, that like music, and Eric certainly does. But Eric takes it another step further because he enjoys working with artists and also with arts organizations. And he is someone who, it's not always all about the money. He really has an empathy for the artists and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to create with their art. And he's very helpful to them. You know, artists need someone like Eric, and there are, like I said, while there are many accountants who appreciate music, to get down into the trenches with the artists and really help them where they live with what they need. That's something that Eric brings. It's very important to me and my clients because...
So Eric might not want me to tell you this, but he struggled in elementary school. And when he thinks back on it, he thinks it really had to do with the kind of learning environment he was in. Clearly, not a lot of arts, not a lot of arts integration, a lot of sitting in chairs, a lot of being spoken to, not a lot of up and moving around. And I think what Young Audiences does for him is that it ensures that kids in elementary school and beyond have access to active learning, to moments that are inspiring, that are engaging, that really get kids into school. He didn't have that, and he wants to ensure other kids have that.
I met Eric about 3 years ago in the business community. While getting to know Eric, I found that he had a passion for arts and music, and this was the quick jump to Young Audiences. It's amazing. Everyone that knows Eric knows about Young Audiences because he shares it with everyone. I don't know of anyone else who is so passionate, and honestly, when you first meet Eric, you think of him as part of Young Audiences versus the CPA.
Yeah, so at a certain point, from what I understand, Eric and Stacey had a conversation about needing an education director. And boy, was that a big change, because it seemed like suddenly, like what had been sort of this loosey-goosey, working for Young Audiences kind of thing, you know, then it was very organized and we were getting trained, and suddenly I knew what a curriculum was, and then I started actually meeting other artists within the organization, and it feels like that was a critical point for the time in Young Audiences when things really turned around, and I I really took notice of the organization, and I became like, wow, I really want to be a part of this. And I felt like also Young Audiences cared about me.
It's that Eric will do anything. You know, he will do anything for the organization if we need it, and he thinks he has the ability to execute, he will. And you can call him to do anything. And you know, there have been times that we've really needed help, and he's there. And you know, that's like the biggest gift that an executive director can have, is having a board member who you know, no matter what, has the organization's back, and that you can call in good times or in bad.
You know, I'll say this. You know, I have 3 sisters. I do not have a brother. If I had a brother, I would hope I would have a brother like Eric Purstein, because I respect him. He knows things I don't know that I need to know, and he's a lot of fun. He loves music, and that would be a must. He loves children, and he believes that the arts should be a part of their educational experience, and that would be a must. Eric is an all-around great guy. I've had a lot of fun with him over the years. We've done a lot of great work together. I wish I didn't have attorney-client privilege, because I would tell some stories, but I do. Suffice it to say that he has got some very great artists through some very challenging times with skill and with good humor. And Eric.
If I had to describe Eric in 3 words, I would have to say passionate, giving, and sincere.
If I was to describe Eric in 3 words, it would be smart, passionate, and relentless.
If I were to describe Eric in 3 words, I would say generous, leader, and my friend.
So if I were to describe Eric in 3 words, I would say authentic, generous, and arts advocate. Yeah, so I also know Eric through the fact that he is a board member at Art Blocks and helps Deb Patterson run Gallery, I guess they call it Gallery 834. And so when he's there meeting with musicians, and when I was setting up my show there, he was at the top of the stairs. He's like, what can I carry? And bringing in my boxes of my pieces so that I could get them hung up. And, you know, chatting up people who come in the door and making sure that they know about the artist that's being shown. And he's just always advocating, and it's really authentic. It's just how he is. It's not like something extra he's trying to do to be nice. He's just really an amazing guy.
Okay. Every year, Young Audiences holds an annual fundraising breakfast. Eric has been very consistent and persistent in inviting us from Howard Bank to attend. Typically, when the bank is invited to a community event, 1 or 2 of us will attend. Somehow, through Eric's persistence, he has been able to have several of our senior management team attend each year at this breakfast. 2 years ago, I attended one of the breakfasts at Young Audiences, and knowing Eric's passion about the organization, I didn't fully understand until I attended the breakfast as well. And now I give to Young Audiences personally. And I feel that everyone who has attended the breakfast from Howard Bank can sense that same passion, and they also give personally to Young Audiences.
My name is Stacey Sanders Evans, and I'm the Executive Director of the Maryland affiliate of Young Audiences Arts for Learning. I've been thinking about how long I've known Eric, and he was actually on the board when I was hired. And Young Audiences was in a kind of different position than it is now. It was a struggling organization. it was really struggling. Like the staff was buying its own paper towels and toilet paper, and it was really a question of whether or not Young Audiences was gonna be around. And Eric was pretty smart. I asked for the last 3 years of audited statements prior to my interview, because I wanted to get a sense of, how bad things were. So Eric sent them to me, and he basically said, Stacy, we can turn this organization around. I really believe in this organization, and Eric is one of the reasons that I really felt comfortable moving to Baltimore and really taking on this big challenge. Eric is the reason why I don't think that boards should have term limits. I would be in really big trouble if Eric left this board. And it's rare to find a board member who sticks with an organization for 22 years. And his longevity is really due to his commitment to the mission. I mean, it is undying. It is relentless. So if there's a problem at Young Audiences, Eric's probably the first person that I call. And it could be a finance kind of question, an accounting question, but usually it expands into other things. He's just a really good partner in trying to troubleshoot, problems, or even trying to think through opportunities and that present themselves and how we should go about navigating those opportunities. I mean, he is just like an organization's best friend.
Eric is someone that you can count on. He's very skilled. He's very efficient. There's not a lot of filigree. He gets right to it, and what you get is what you need. And his leadership has been very important for Young Audiences over the years, and continues to be very important in the arts. And we've also had the opportunity I've had the opportunity to work with Eric on other arts initiatives, most recently with the Maryland Film Industry Coalition, where we needed someone that had his expertise, and I knew that he was too busy to do it, but I called him anyway, and he said yes, and he joined that board, and he's the treasurer of the Maryland Film Industry Coalition, which has really brought the film and television industry back to Maryland with HBO's Veep. And Eric steps up, and he's very, very important to artists and arts organizations in Maryland. So let me try again. So when the Film Coalition was formed, we sought out a cross-section of people and industries from education, business, hospitality, tourism, the arts, to make it a true coalition. And what we didn't have was someone with the financial background to help us handle our finances and to be good stewards of the donations that we received from people that really cared about our mission. And I brought up the name Eric Pripstein from the get-go and explained how important his participation had been in other boards that I had served on, particularly Young Audiences. And the thing about Eric is that if he commits, he will follow through. You can count on him, and it will be done right. And so I knew Eric was too busy, because I knew at that time what he had on his plate. But I called him anyway, and Eric was listened to what I said, and I think he liked the mission. I think he liked the idea that we were going to bring film and television back to Maryland. And I think that's really what grabbed his interest. And he committed, and he spent